Under the strains of suitably eerie music, a young boy and his guardian walk through the marketplace of Camelot. As they collect supplies from a stallholder, Certain divulges to the stallholder that they are leaving the city immediately, only to realize that they've been betrayed. Father and son make a run for it into the castle grounds. When a guard slashes at him, the boy lets out a telepathic scream. From within the castle, Merlin hears it and begins to investigate. Certain uses magic to throw the guard into the wall and then closes the drawbridge gates, ordering his son to escape while he gives himself up.
Please, you have to help me.
Still hearing the boy's telepathic cries for help, Merlin emerges into the courtyard and spots him hiding under a cart while the guards search for him. Catching on to how he's communicating, Merlin silently urges him to run across the courtyard to the small door in the castle. Holding his wounded arm, the boy races toward him, and he and Merlin dodge through the corridors with the guards right behind them. Seeing nowhere else to go, Merlin bursts into Morgana's bedroom, where she and Guinevere are talking. At first annoyed that Merlin has burst in without knocking, Morgana takes one look at the injured boy, and a strange look comes over her face. Guards pound at the door, and Morgana ushers Merlin and the boy into an alcove hung with a curtain. As the boy loses consciousness in Merlin's arms, Morgana assures the guards that she hasn't seen anyone. As soon as they're gone, she and Gwen join Merlin behind the screen to find his hands covered in the boy's blood. In the council chamber, Uther is on the warpath. Despite Arthur's claims that the Druids are peaceful and that Certain was only picking up supplies, Uther is insistent that anyone with magic should be executed. From within Morgana's chambers, Morgana and Merlin watch from behind as Certain is marched out to be executed. Uther and Arthur watch from the balcony. The boy is awake, still behind the screen, but aware of what's going on. Certain is duly executed, and as he dies, the boy's fury causes all the mirrors in the room to break. Over a meal with Gaius in his quarters, Merlin asks about the Druids. Gaius knows little about them, only that they're very secretive, especially since others crusade against magic. Sensing something behind Merlin's interest, Gaius prods for an answer, and Merlin admits that he's helped the boy escape. The next morning, the boy has lapsed back into unconsciousness, and Morgana frets that he's lost too much blood. The boy hasn't said a word to her, not even his own name. The transcript doesn't even begin to convey the quietly appraising looks that Merlin and Morgana give each other as they test the waters, trying to ascertain just how much the other knows.
You seem troubled, Morgana. Something wrong?
At breakfast with Uther, he notes that Morgana seems troubled, and when Arthur enters with no news of the Druid boy, she listens intently. Another is irritated to hear that no progress has been made and insists that the boy is being hidden by someone. Being injured and young, he deems it unlikely that he's managed to evade the guards and leave the city by himself. Arthur isn't enthusiastic about hunting down a child, but he agrees to continue with the search. Back in Morgana's chambers, she confides to Merlin that she thinks the boy's wound may be infected and that they need Gaius before it gets any worse. Merlin is hesitant to endanger his mentor, but Morgana insists that they can't smuggle the boy out of Camelot until he's healthy. Merlin suggests that he can treat the wound himself, but before he gets a chance, there's a knock on the door. It's Arthur. Come search Morgana's chambers as part of a systematic search. As she tries to get rid of him, Merlin notices that the boy's boots are in plain view and uses magic to make them tiptoe out of sight. Finally, Morgana resorts to telling the truth. Arthur storms out, and Merlin and the boy remain hidden. In the physician's chambers, Gaius is interested in finding Merlin poring over his books. Jumping at the chance to instruct him in some basic anatomy, it's not until nightfall that Merlin makes it back to Morgana's room. While she's getting him some water to tend to the boy, Merlin hears the boy in his mind. He thanks him and addresses him as Amrise. To get some answers, Merlin heads down to the dungeons to speak to the dragon. The dragon tells him that he too can hear the boy speak and that Amrise is just one of many names that Merlin has. But there are more important things to discuss, namely, the fact that Merlin should not protect this boy. The dragon doesn't answer but simply flies off.
Why should I not protect him?
Back in Morgana's room, Gwen is encouraging Morgana to rest for a while, but Morgana is too worried to listen to her. Just then, she hears the boy call her name. Not realizing that he did so telepathically, she asks if Gwen heard it too. Gwen denies hearing it, but before the girls can discuss it further, Merlin knocks on the door. Morgana begs him to fetch Gaius, certain that the boy will die without treatment. Down in the physician's quarters, Merlin comes clean to Gaius, who is disappointed that he's gotten involved. Up in Morgana's room, Gaius agrees to treat the boy on the proviso that they get him out of Camelot at the first available opportunity. Down in the marketplace, Morgana, Merlin, and Gwen watch the guards search every cart that leaves through the gates and discuss their plan of escape. Merlin mentions that there's another way out through a secret door in the armory that leads to the lower town. Morgana insists that she's the one who will smuggle the boy out, for if they're caught, Uther is more likely to be lenient. There's only one problem: the door needs a key and Arthur has it.
Well, you need a key for the door.
Who has it?
Arthur.
In Arthur's chambers, Merlin watches as Arthur dines on soup. With a quiet incantation, Merlin levitates the keys off his belt, only for them to jangle behind Arthur's head. Keeping them out of sight, Merlin only manages to maneuver them into the soup bowl as Arthur futilely prowls the room for the mysterious sound and leaves in disgust as Merlin insists that he can't hear a thing. Meanwhile, dressed in Gwen's clothes, Morgana prepares herself and the boy for their escape, apologizing to Gwen for the position she's been put in. Merlin arrives with the key as Morgana promises the boy that nothing bad will happen to him, and Gwen and Merlin leave for Gwen's house, where they'll meet up with Morgana before she leaves the city. Morgana and the boy creep through the corridors, avoiding the guards, but getting spotted by a serving girl as they enter the armory. Using the key, Morgana unlocks the door behind the shield and lifts the boy up into the secret passage behind it. At Gwen's house, Merlin and Gwen wait anxiously as Gwen prepares some supplies and expresses her concern over Morgana's sudden bond with the mysterious boy. Meanwhile, Arthur is investigating the secret door, having been tipped off by the servant that someone was prowling around the area. On discovering that one of his keys is missing, he orders the warning bell to be sounded. As the bells begin to ring, Morgana arrives at Gwen's house to get her supplies and horse. Morgana insists on going alone so that the others won't get in trouble, and as she leaves, the boy telepathically bids Merlin farewell. In the lower town, Morgana spots Arthur, and the guards approach with swords, torches, and ducks into a nearby barn. After hiding for a moment, Morgana tries to make a run for it, only for Arthur to hold her at sword point, not realizing that it's her.
Show yourself.
Slowly, she turns around, still holding the boy. Arthur is shocked, but considering the presence of the guards all around him, he has little choice but to have them both restrained. Back in the council chamber, Uther is furious with Morgana. When Morgana grabs Uther by the arm as he storms off, he fastens a hand around her throat and forces her back into a chair, leaving her visibly shaken. Back in her room, she tearfully tells Merlin that she had promised the boy she wouldn't let anything happen to him. Merlin tries to tell her that there's nothing more they can do to help him, but Morgana isn't about to give up just yet and secures Merlin's word that he'll help. Meanwhile, Arthur is trying to convince his father to show mercy to the young boy, but Uther is having none of it. Arthur enters his chambers in defeat, only to find Morgana waiting for him. Realizing that the boy really was behind the screen when he tried to search her room, Arthur isn't too keen on helping her. Judging by the look on his face, Morgana has already worn him down. Out in the square, Merlin watches as the executioner sharpens his axe and interrupts Arthur and Morgana in the middle of their planning. Though Arthur tells him to leave, Morgana asserts that she trusts Merlin, and the two tell him Plan B for rescuing the Druid boy. Arthur will break the boy out of the dungeons and take him through the burial vaults to his people in the forest. To clear Morgana of any culpability, Arthur instructs her to dine with Uther while the escape is taking place. It is up to Merlin to fetch the horses and use a grappling hook to remove the grate at the other end of the secret tunnel. Recalling the dragon's words, Merlin is not at all happy about this but has no choice but to agree. Back down in the dragon's cave, Merlin demands to know why the boy mustn't be protected and is told that if the boy lives, neither Merlin nor Arthur can fulfill their destiny. Merlin connects the dots and realizes that the boy is fated to kill Arthur. It's now up to Merlin as to whether or not he lets that happen. Eating dinner with Gaius that night, Merlin poses a question to him. In Morgana's chambers, Gwen helps Morgana dress for dinner and voices her fears that Morgana is risking too much for a boy she barely knows. Morgana can't answer her, but she only insists that there's a bond between the two of them that she can't explain. Morgana enters the dining hall, where Uther is sitting, and gives him a tearful apology. Uther invites her to join him for dinner so they can put the incident behind them. On the staircase above the dungeons, Arthur lowers a smoking bag down to the guards, who cough and pass out. Arthur takes their keys and opens the boy's cell, telling him that he's there to deliver him to his people. As they hurry down the secret tunnel, the guards awaken and hurry after them. Arthur and the boy reach the grate that leads to freedom, only to find that Merlin is nowhere in sight. As Merlin lies in bed, he hears the warning bells begin to ring and covers his ears with his pillow. In the dining hall, Uther orders a guard to find out why the warning bell is ringing. In the tunnel, the boy reaches out to Merlin with his mind, begging for help as the guards approach. Finally, his pleas for mercy are too much for Merlin, and he leaps out of bed to come to his aid. Arthur is furious at his late arrival.
Where the hell have you been? Had trouble getting out of the castle.
Together they force the grate off the tunnel before Arthur mounts his horse with the boy in front, telling Merlin to make himself scarce. Once again, the boy bids Merlin a silent farewell. Back in the dining room, Uther is given the news that the Druid boy has escaped with the help of accomplices. As soon as he's gone, Uther turns to Morgana. Arthur trots through the woods on his horse to where a group of Druids are awaiting him. Extracting their promise that they'll never reveal who it was that helped the boy escape, Arthur watches as they reclaim their young ward. Just before he disappears, Arthur calls out to him, asking for his name. But despite the successful conclusion to his plan, a strange look comes over Arthur's face, as though he can sense that something is not quite right about what he's just done.
Wait, I don't even know your name.
My name is Mordred.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and smash the bell button. Write in the comments section what kind of movie you would like to see next.